Greetings from Millersburg United Methodist Church. I'm Pastor Paula Cook, and thank you for joining me on Midweek Boost this week. I was reading in 1 Peter, the 5th chapter, verse 7, where it says this: "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." I was thinking about that word cast. Several years ago, I had to wear a very large cast after I had some foot surgery, and I was in that cast for about 4.5 weeks. It was pretty heavy to lug around. And here we find in 1 Peter 5, verse 7, that Peter is telling us to cast our anxiety on him, for he cares for us. Well, if you've ever worn a cast, you know it's a pretty heavy object that you carry around with you. Anxiety is just like that. Anxiety is that which is heaviness that we carry around with us. And it becomes so heavy sometimes that it can actually cause us to be weighted down and not be able to function in the way that God calls us to function or to do the things that we need to do. But here we're being reminded to cast. Well, that cast might be something that holds something in place. The other word for cast means to put out, to let go. When you take a cast off, they cut it off, you let it go. You put it aside so that you can now resume life normally, especially if it's a cast on your foot. Well, we're called to cast our anxiety, cast those heaviness, that weighted thing that's in your life, to cast it upon Jesus. Why? Because Jesus cares for us. In the midst of all that's been going on in our world today, in the midst of COVID-19, in the midst of being sheltered at home, in the midst of an election time, in the midst of those riots that are taking place and issues that concern racial justice, we know that there are a lot of anxieties and a lot of things that are going on in our lives. Those are big things, and there's still little things happening in our lives. But I want to remind you that we are called to cast those things on Jesus. Allow Jesus to take those things. Allow yourself to be free from the anxieties, those weights that bear you down and are heavy on your life. And step into the place where you can know the presence of Christ, know his peace for you, and move in that peace. Now, that doesn't mean those things go away, because those are still concerns that we must deal with and we must look at in our own lives and in the world around us. And we need to be willing to do that, to look at those things and do what we can do. But we can't allow them to weigh us down so heavily that we become so weighted by them that we can't function. No, we need to cast those things on Jesus and allow him, through the power of his Holy Spirit, to help us to know how to deal with those issues in our own everyday lives and in the lives of the places that we find ourselves, whether in the church, whether in our places of work, or within our family settings. But we need to cast them on Jesus and then allow his Spirit to lead us and guide us. So remember the words: cast all your anxiety on him, for he cares for you. Think on these things this week. May you be blessed, and may you know that Jesus wants to carry the heaviness that you are willing to give to him. May you experience his grace and his full compassion and love for you this week. Thanks for joining me, and have a great week.